what's up, guys? Welcome to the product interview prep series, where we'll be diving deeper into how to solve different types of interview questions asked for product management roles. We'll be covering all areas of assessment in such interviews like metrics and analytics, guesstimates, and product thinking and strategy cases. So be sure to subscribe to stay tuned to all the content that we post here. In this series, we'll be looking at guesstimates, and today we'll be covering the basics of solving guesstimates. A guesstimate question is where you are given an arbitrary problem to estimate a specific event or items. Example, estimate the number of window panes in New York. So there are three ways of solving a guesstimate question. For certain problems, one way would be easier or more accurate compared to the other. So you'll need to use your judgment to select which approach seems more applicable to the given problem statement. First is the top to bottom approach. You start from the broadest set and apply filters to reach to the target number. Like you start with population of a state or country, or the number of households in case of products or commodities consumed at a household level, and then filter based on various demographic, financial, or behavioral factors to reach to the right user set or consumers. Second is bottom up. As the name suggests, you look at things from demand or supply side. Example, if you are estimating the number of ambulances, you start with the number of hospitals. Or let's say in case of estimating revenue by a brand, you start with the revenue of one outlet and extrapolate to get to the total number. Third approach is bottleneck based. Here the entity you want to estimate is dependent on something that limits its output or cannot be or hasn't been optimized yet. Example, when you're estimating the number of checkouts in a shop, it is dependent upon the time it takes to complete one checkout, as the number of work hours are fixed, and there are only so many checkouts that can happen during a day. Now that you have an understanding of various approaches to solve guesstimates, let's look at how to structure our answers better so that you're not all over the place. This is something that I've noticed lacking among various candidates while interviewing. A good structure allows you to think progressively towards a solution while also making it easier for the interviewer to follow. Before solving any question, clarify from the interviewer on the timeline to consider while solving. Do we want to estimate for a day, a month, or a year? Next, narrow down to a particular geography you are comfortable in solving for, or what makes the most sense, unless the interviewer has specifically asked for a particular geography. Example, if I'm solving for number of TikTok users, it is better to narrow it down to US or China since they are major users. Also try to clarify on the user we want to go after. Common classification is on basis of device type, which is app or desktop based, OS based, B2B users or B2C users, or similar such classification. If the problem involves an umbrella brand like Google, be sure to narrow it down to one specific brand required, like Gmail, YouTube, or Google Maps, etc. You should also try to scope out the problem before solving it. Do we want to estimate the number of users or revenue earned or the number of hours they spent? Once you have complete clarity on what we are trying to solve for, now would be a good time to take a few minutes from the interviewer to collect your thoughts. Redefine and state out the clarified problem statement to your interviewer. Thereafter, start thinking about the stakeholders and the constraints involved in your mind, or write it down somewhere. This would help you structure your thoughts and also help you in figuring out which of the approaches that we discussed before would work best in solving this problem. Once you have an approach in mind, map out the approach as a graph along with the percentage of users you're splitting when traversing that graph from one node to the other node based upon the filtering. Example, I'll start by total population, then I'll split it by urban or rural population, 30% being to the urban population and 70% being to the rural population. It is important to walk your interviewer through this graph so that they know how you're intending to calculate the final number. Once that is done, you should also summarize the final formula you're using to calculate the estimated quantity. It is especially important in cases where you're estimating two different things and using both of those to arrive at the final number. For example, when estimating the revenue of a restaurant, you're using occupancy as well as average order value, and hence you should be providing the interviewer the formula that you're using for calculating the final revenue. These are the basics that would help you stay structured and solve the problem progressively. But remember, structure is not one-shot solution to all cases. Hence, it acts like a guidance to you. Even though the structure that we've just discussed will help you solve majority of the guesstimate questions, there is a specific type which will still need a little more background knowledge. Whenever you're asked to price a certain product or service disguised as a guesstimate, know that none of the above approaches will work. Instead, for pricing, you need to know three important ways in which you can reach a solution. First is competitive benchmarking, where you look for similar alternate products and price on basis of that. So to price a new water bottle, I might look at similarly placed bottle brands and at what price are they selling. Second way is the cost-based approach. Here you either price the product on basis of cost of serving or acquiring a customer. Let's say that you're a new entrant into a space. You would want to price the product such that it covers your cost to produce the unit. One important decision to call out here is whether you'll include the fixed cost or just price it on basis of variable cost. That is the cost to produce the additional unit for the user. Latter is highly recommended and often the way you should price it, but it is always good to explicitly state the same to the interviewer. If you are not a new entrant, but just launching a new offering in the same space, you can also consider pricing on basis of cost of acquisition for the new customer. Third type of pricing is willingness to pay based. Let's say that you're pricing a subscription service for Amazon Prime. You can simply estimate what would delivery charges be for end user. If they were not to buy the subscription, then what is the price that they would have paid for it? Since the user is willing to consider anything below that price, we can deem that as a basis for calculating how the subscription service should be priced at. Now that we have our basics sorted, in subsequent videos, we'll be diving into solving some of the latest guesstimate questions asked in product interviews. Our team keeps collecting the latest interview questions asked by famous tech firms so that you guys can practice and prepare for the same. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next one.